Hello, welcome to episode 27 of the Gaming Roundtable. I'm your host Newton13. With me today, as always, may very well be some special guests. Just stay tuned. Today we're going to be reviewing Deus Ex, released on the PC and also on the PlayStation 2 as Deus Ex: The Conspiracy. Does it live up to today's standards of action RPGs? Or was it merely a beginning for a much broader world? Enjoy the show.
I've done a couple of crazy things that have almost gotten me dismissed. Like terminate some head of state who wasn't even on the
Now, for the
list.
graphics of Deus Ex, I must say that even by today's standards, they are a little bit dated. They use the original Unreal Engine. However, overall, they look pretty fantastic, especially since now you can run it in max settings without even trying to blink an eye. And if you have the Game of the Year edition, you also have some multiplayer to contrive with. Trust me, I would pretty much skip the multiplayer and just enjoy the single-player experience. But hey, the game's a lot of fun no matter how you slice it. For graphics, I give Deus Ex a 4 out of 5. Pretty solid for then, not too bad for today. A decent-looking game. As for sound, I have to say that the voice acting in Deus Ex varies depending on which location you're actually in. Some of the voice acting sounds pretty good and pretty solid delivery. And then you get to Hong Kong and all hell breaks loose. Everybody's trying to do a Chinese accent and it clearly doesn't work. But in general, the game is solid, and worst case, just read the subtitles and skip over the voice acting if you can read fast. For sound, I give Deus Ex a 3 out of 5. A pretty decent soundtrack overall, love the moody music, but the dialogue leaves a little bit to be desired. As for gameplay, your choice is clearly what's on the table here. Whether you want to be sneaky, going guns blazing, or do any combination thereof, Deus Ex has you covered. Whatever your gameplay style is, it'll pretty much adapt to it. Or, if you don't feel like being stealthy this time around and you want to do balls to the wall, you can, and vice versa. This game is awesome, and it gives you plenty of choices on how awesome you want it to be. And one of the better parts is if you don't know a door code, and it only takes 1 or 2 digits, why not just keep trying until it works? Hack just like anybody else would. A great game. Gameplay for Deus Ex, I give a 5 out of 5. Rock solid gameplay, always keeps you coming back for more. And a great story to boot. Highly recommended.
Command should not have left us to be surrounded.
Risk is part of the job. I think you lucked out this time.
Agent Navarra and I were ready to go in, but for no reason they said pull back. I do not retreat. Please give me a weapon and move out of the way.
And now it's time for a trip back in time to our retro reflections with my special guest, Decker Shadow. Decker? So Decker, I've been playing a lot of Deus Ex lately, a classic RPG from the PC era. What have you been playing?
Well, I've been playing a lot of Shadowrun recently.
Oh wow, that game's a classic. Another great RPG.
Well, in Shadowrun, you can hack terminals and get into buildings that way, or just blow it with demolition if that's your thing. You can sneak around and get what you need and leave without them ever knowing you're there, or you could just go in there with like 5 different guys and blow everyone away. The options are quite limitless in that game, very similar to Deus Ex.
Wow. Is this a game you would recommend?
Definitely. Even by today's standards in gaming, Shadowrun, if you can get over the fact that it's 2D, is just a blast to play.
Alright, and that was Decker Shadow with Retro Reflections. Thank you, Decker, for your input.
Anytime, dude.
And now it's time for one of my favorite sequences. This is the one where we talk about what's currently going on in the gaming industry.
You know you're acting like it's down now. You know but you're acting like it's down now. You know you're acting like it's down now.
So Decker, Sony Online Entertainment has recently announced that they're making a new Planetside game, Planetside 2. Do you think that this is a great step for Sony Online Entertainment, or are we looking at a complete waste of space in the realm of Battlefield and Homefront Call of Duty, stuff like that?
Well, I personally am a big fan of the original Planetside. In its heyday, it had seriously epic online FPS battles. The only thing I'm really concerned about is how much has changed in Planetside 2. I expect there to be changes, and I'd hope there'd be improvements over the first, but I'm afraid that it's going to take too much of a page from Call of Duty, and I'm going to be seeing things like quickly regenerating health and the aim-down sight system, where aiming down the sight is an instantaneous action, gives you perfect accuracy and a magnetic pull to your target, and not aiming down the sight is completely useless in any situation. So I'm definitely going to look into it, but I'm going to take any news with a grain of salt. What's your take on it, Newton?
Well, I gotta tell you, Decker, I did play the original Planetside. I thought it was a pretty decent game, but my problem is it didn't have a lot of ground charging a monthly fee for a game you could essentially get for free playing Battlefield or Call of Duty. Now, at the time, of course, it was just Battlefield 1942 and Battlefield 2. With Battlefield 3 on the way, and potentially them not necessarily having Planetside 2 as a free-to-play game, I don't know how much ground this is really going to have. I'm not saying that Sony Online Entertainment isn't doing good by releasing a new Planetside, but quite frankly, I just don't think it'll hold up against Battlefield. Now, for my overall score for Deus Ex, it's a 4 out of 5. A rock-solid game, definitely recommended. This is an easy enough game to pick up on the Games for Windows platform and the Game of the Year version for about $9.99. Also, if you pre-order Deus Ex on OnLive, and you better hurry, you can get the Game of the Year edition on OnLive for free, in addition to the upcoming Human Revolution, which will probably be out in a couple of weeks after you see this video. Rock solid game, highly recommended. Get it however you can get it. It's a great game. And as a heads up, get the PC version over the PS2, the Conspiracy version, if you can. It's ancient, so anybody's computer should be able to run it. Thanks for tuning in to this month's episode. Next time on the Gaming Roundtable, we're going to be reviewing another game. Is it as epic as Deus Ex with so many different decisions that you can possibly make? Well,
baby, you make me wish I had 3 guns.
And we'll see you next time.
This is terrible. This is one of the worst catastrophes in the world.